Today is our first episode of Eyeturk podcast. My name is Maz Belkir from Eyeturk Real Estate, and our podcast is gonna go around topics which are relevant for foreigners and expats living in Turkey. We're gonna talk about topics which are relevant for foreigners and expats. Our first episode today is gonna be about residence permits, since this is a very hot question everybody is asking. Most of our information is coming directly from the immigration department's information bulletins, but we've been giving consultations for free in this matter, and this is what we're going to be doing today. You should tune in. Our next episodes are going to be about establishing companies in Turkey, how to study in Turkey, the process, and everything which is relevant for foreigners and expats. Today's episode is going to be about residence permits. You can ask your questions, leave them in the comments below, and I'll happily answer them at the end of this video. So we'll start with the residence permits. A lot of foreigners come here thinking that the process might be difficult. They might go to different agents, ask for consultations, and they get sometimes conflicting information. The agencies charge different fees. That's also a variable we will discuss. Let's start with which residence permit should I apply for. So in Turkey, according to the immigration department's categories, there are 6 main categories. There's the short term, and there's the family, and there's the student permit, the long term, the humanitarian, and victims for human trafficking. Basically, if you're a student, you apply for the student permit. If you're, let's say, married to a Turkish citizen, you would apply for the family permit. What most people usually do is apply for the short term. So who can apply for the short term? Let's say you're a tourist, you came to Turkey, your visa period is a month or 2 or 3 months, and you want to extend your period of stay in Turkey. You want to stay, let's say, for 6 months or a year. So you can apply for the short term for touristic purposes. Or you came to Turkey for medical treatment, and your medical visa is going to expire, but you still need to stay at the hospital for, let's say, post-treatment or other issues. You can also apply for the short term. Also, the investor visa, people who have purchased property in Turkey or have established companies in Turkey, they can also apply through the short-term visa. How can I apply for the residence permit? Basically, most of the categories you can do them by going directly to the immigration's website. They have a portal. It's called e-ikamet.gov.tr. We're gonna post a link to this website in the comments below. So this portal is made for foreigners. It's in 4 languages: English, Arabic, Russian, and Turkish. You can apply for the first time, or you can renew your residence permit. The first step is going on the website. We're gonna talk about the steps for the short term, which is for tourists and for people staying for medical reasons or have purchased property or invested in Turkey. The process for the other categories is somehow similar. We're gonna say the differences later on. So what should I do? I go on the website, go on like I'm applying for a new one. I put in my information. You have to make sure that you use an email which is working and a phone number which is working, because you're going to get emails and text messages from the immigration department regarding these issues. So you have to use something which you can receive communication on it later on. So I apply, I put my information. I have to upload a photo of myself. This photo has to be biometric. There are certain requirements you can find on the website. And I put my information, my passport information, and I continue with the steps until I reach the page for the insurance, health insurance policy. When you apply for residence permit, you're most likely asked to have a valid health insurance policy covering the period you're intending to stay in Turkey. So for most people applying for the short term, they need to get health insurance from a reputable insurance company. This health insurance usually has to start from the day you enter Turkey and covers the period you're intending to stay. So let's say I entered Turkey on the 1st of December and I have applied, let's say after 3 weeks, let's say I applied on the 20th of December. When I purchase health insurance, my health insurance should start from the period where I'm requesting to stay in Turkey, which is the 1st of December, and that's what I will do in the application form. So after I get the health insurance policy, I take the policy number, the information, and I put it in the page, and then I go to the next page. It's going to ask me for my residence information in Turkey and abroad. After I get to the last step, I'm going to choose which period of stay I am requesting. You can request 6 months, you can request a year, and you can request 2 years. But most people go for 1 year. If you're a student, if you're staying for touristic purposes, you have a company, mostly go for 1 year. Before, you can apply for 2 years, but now it has been very difficult if you don't have a property to apply for 2 years and get accepted. What are the next steps? After I applied, the last step when I choose where I am applying, you should apply in the city where you're residing in. And I choose for, let's say, touristic purposes, 1 year, and then I choose my appointment. Before, you would get an appointment email telling you that you need to go to your, let's say, neighborhood or district immigration office to apply your physical papers in person. But after the COVID situation, mostly all applications are now handed by the postal office. So later on, you would get an email telling you you need to apply with your documents to the nearest PTT, which is the short for the public post office here in Turkey. So what are the required documents? The required documents are 4 biometric photos, a copy of your passport, a copy of your visa, or if you're a visa-free national, a copy of your entry stamp on the passport, the page. Also, you need a copy of your application form. When you finish the application form on the online website, you can print it out with your picture and your information. And you put a copy of your insurance policy signed and stamped. And you need a rental agreement notarized from the notar. In some cities, there are some alternatives to this. If you purchase property and you're applying for like short term as a property owner, instead of putting a rental agreement, you would put your title deed, which is called tabu here. There's also the option if you're staying in a hotel all this time, you're requesting to stay in Turkey, you can get official papers from the hotel showing that you've booked a specific period and you're planning to stay in the hotel. The last thing you would put is the receipt for the taxes you need to pay. So for some other categories, there are slight differences. For example, if you're a student, you would need to put a student letter, an official one from the university. In some cases, the immigration department can ask for additional documents. For example, a bank statement. They can ask you, if you're staying for touristic purposes, that they need an itinerary of where you're going to spend your time in Turkey. But in most cases, the things which I mentioned should be enough. If you're a family, of course, you need a paper family certificate approving that you are applying as a family for all the family members. So these are the general documents. If you're staying for medical reasons, you would need an official letter from the hospital signed and stamped by the chief of medical staff saying that this person needs to stay longer than their visa would allow them for, so they can get treatment. So we go to one of the most popular questions. How much does it cost to get a residence permit in Turkey? So let's start with the first thing, insurance. The health insurance policy, their price differs. It can start from, let's say, 125 TL up to 1000 TL, Turkish lira. And this depends really on the company and the age of the person who's getting the health insurance. Please keep in mind that if you're under 18 or if you're older than 65, you don't really need a health insurance to apply for the residence permit in Turkey. It's optional. You can get a health insurance, but for the residence permit, it's not necessary. Also, the health insurance price, which I've said, is usually for the residence permit. There are much higher, much expensive health insurances which other people apply for, and they're better if you're thinking about medical coverage in hospitals and so forth. But these prices are the minimum if you just want the health insurance to get a residence permit. All right. So the rental agreement. The rental agreement basically it's a contract. You're renting from the rental you're renting an apartment, and you have to sign your name, and the owner of the apartment or the house signs their name, and then you have to go to a notar and notarize it. This costs around 100 something lira. It's not much. You pay it for the notar. There's the card fees when you apply. You pay each year. It changes. This year it's 125 TL. This fee you pay. You can pay it either online through the system, or you go to the tax department and you pay it there. If you go to the tax department and they ask you for a tax number, vergi numara, and you don't have it, you can get a tax number from that office. So the taxes really differs. A lot of people are asking, how much should I pay? And they hear really strange numbers. Like someone can tell them, well, it costs just $100 to do everything. Another person says 300, 500, 1000, and we're just trying to like give you the expenses for each thing so you can get a better picture. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments below. I'll make sure to answer them. The taxes, the basic taxes for 1 year differs. They can start from around $20 to $25 a year up to $80 a year. It differs depending on your nationality. Most nationalities are $80 per year plus the 125 TL for the card. Some other countries, they have it cheaper. The reason is some mutual agreement between Turkey and the respective countries. It's not that it's expensive to get a residence permit here in Turkey for some countries. It's more of that some countries have a discount on the normal price. All right, there's another thing I should mention, that if you're from a visa-free, like you're a visa-free national, you enter Turkey without a visa. A lot of countries have this thing. There's a visa bedeli, or a fee that you need to pay, and it's around 760 up to 790, like from 700 to 800 TL. This you also need to pay at the tax department. With this thing, you might think like, all right, now I've counted everything, it must cost me. Yes, it can cost you from $135 up to $300, really depending on if you're young, old, what kind of residence permit you're applying for, and whether you need a consultation from an agency to help you. Note that agencies really have different pricing structure, so you might find like an agency which will tell you, all right, I'm gonna do this for just 200 TL, and this might just cover your insurance or your application form or just some consulting. Others might tell you, I'm gonna take $1,000, and it really differs. We go to the next question. When will I get my residence permit card? So this really differs because in bigger cities like Istanbul, the process takes way longer than in smaller cities. So let's say in a smaller city I apply and I might get a reply the same day or in a week, and then it takes another week and I get my residence permit card. But in Istanbul, you apply and you wait for your appointment when you get to when you get to give the documents to the post office, and this can take around 2 to 3 weeks, and then you wait for them to evaluate your application form and tell you whether you're accepted or not, and this in Istanbul might take from 2 to 5 weeks. And then to get your residence permit card, it might take another 1 to 2 weeks. So basically it can span around 3 months from the date you start applying until you receive your residence permit card. So the next question, how will I receive my residence permit card? Well, you will get an SMS, a text message from the immigration, from the postal office, sorry, on your phone number, which you registered on the website. It would tell it. This message usually comes just 1 day before they come and bring your card. It will say, you have your residence permit card and a barcode number, and that it's going to be delivered to your address. The next day, the post office postman comes to your residence and knocks on the door and gives you your residence permit. In some cases, if they come and they don't find you, or you live a bit far and they couldn't find the address, it would go back to the post office, the nearest one to your address, and you would go there in person and take your residence permit card. Note that if you don't take your residence permit card from the post office, after some time it will go back to Emniyet, the immigration head office, and after some time, I think a month, if you don't really go and collect your residence permit card, they can cancel it. Alright, so we go to the next question. What are the reasons for rejection? A lot of foreigners ask, like, why did I get rejected? How can I avoid being rejected? What are the reasons for rejection? Well, there are many reasons for rejection, but mostly are when you make a mistake in your application form. So let's say you're supposed to apply for a medical residence permit and you go apply for a touristic residence permit. There are reasons why there are different categories and different purposes. Another problem might be that you give them false information or false documentation. Your health insurance policy might be invalid. Another reason might be that you overstayed your visa and you applied late. The immigration department really can just freeze your application form and send you a text message or an email asking you to come in person for an interview, or that they need additional documents from you. What sometimes happens is that people put a phone number and then they lose the number, so they don't really get a message, or their email is not working and they don't get a notification, so they don't know what is happening, and they're waiting and they're waiting and they fail to show up at the immigration department or send additional documents, and then they can face rejection, or they can just cancel their application form. Alright, we go to the next question. What is the minimum and maximum requested period of stay you're allowed to make? It differs. You can ask for 6 months. Most people ask for a year, which is recommended if you're staying as a student or as a tourist or as a property owner. You can, as a property owner, you can extend it to 2 years. So what happens if I don't have property and I apply for 2 years? What would happen? Will I get 1 year? Will I get rejected? Will they give me 2 years? Well, it really depends on them to decide, but mostly you would just lose the extra money you paid on the insurance and the taxes, and you would get 1 year. But if you want to be 100% accurate, then you should apply only for 1 year. All right, we go to the next question. What to do if I overstayed my visa? Can I still apply for a residence permit? Well, if you overstayed your visa and you have some strong reason for that, you can consult with a lawyer and try to apply. But usually if you overstayed your visa, it's better for you to exit the country and re-enter again with a visa and reapply for a residence permit. Note that when you're leaving Turkey, you need to check at the airport if you have any fines you need to pay. Failure to pay fines, or making or overstaying your visa for long, or making breaking this rule more than one time can result in getting you banned from entering Turkey again for a period up to 5 years. So the next question, what to do if my residence permit application gets rejected? Well, the first thing you need to do is to find out how or why your residence permit got rejected. You can go to the immigration department, you can ask for your application form, you can ask for a reason, and then you can consult with a lawyer on whether you can make a good case in the courts that you have mistakenly been rejected. They might turn this around, but for most cases, if you just didn't show up, if it's your fault, if they just like you didn't follow the right procedure, you will not win this case and you would have to exit Turkey and re-enter again. All right, another one of the most asked questions. Can I leave Turkey and come back during the application? You can leave for a short term if you a very short period. If, let's say, you got accepted, you've been evaluated positively, and you're just waiting for your residence permit card to be printed and delivered to your address. Yes, you can take a paper, they call it مراجعات belgesi. It's like a paper where you have your information and your foreigner identification number. You can use it in the airport to exit and re-enter without having to apply for a visa or a residence permit. And then you can pick up your residence permit card from the post office or from the immigration department. But if you are still being evaluated, then I don't recommend you to exit the country, because if you exit and the relevant employee took your application form, they can check on the system to see if you're in the country or you're outside. If they see that you're outside, they might just freeze your application or try to contact you, ask you to come in person to check how come you're outside and you're applying for a residence permit. If you fail to meet in the right time, then they cancel your application form. So if you didn't get evaluated positively, better just stay until you do and get a paper so you can leave and come back again really fast. But again, if you've already got evaluated positively, then you don't really need to wait for a long time until you get your residence permit card. All right, next question. Can I apply for a residence permit outside Turkey? No, you cannot apply. You need to apply from Turkey, and when you do apply, the system checks if your passport number is in Turkey or have entered Turkey recently or not. How can I renew my residence permit? The renewal process is very similar to applying for the first time. You do the same thing, usually the same things, and you attach a photocopy of your residence permit card, the front and the back, and you do this from the website, the portal. Instead of applying for the first time, you would apply as renewal. All right, we get to the last question. How can I check the status of my application? All right, So let's say you've made your online application form, you've downloaded it, you've gotten an email telling you you need to go to the nearest postal office, you got your documents and you applied them, and you're waiting. And you want to know what stage you're at, or whether you got accepted already, rejected. You just want to check the status. So what do? Usually the immigration department, they have this policy that unless you've been waiting for 90 days, then everything is going fine. So until you pass 90 days, then there's a problem and you need to go to the immigration department and ask them if there's something. But there are ways which you can check. One of them, if you're in Istanbul, there's an email we're going to put in the comments. It's istanbul.duzenli@goç.gov.tr. So you can send them your passport and you can ask for the status of your application. You can request the residence permit card barcode number, or even you can request a copy of your application form. Let's say you've forgotten it. Let's say you've lost it. This is basically how you can apply for residence permit in Turkey. I hope it was beneficial. We're going to be making more videos. All of this information, we're giving it away for free. We're answering the best we can on the questions which we're getting. And the next episodes, we're going to try to cover other topics like establishing companies, studying in Turkey, what kind of business, the job market for foreigners, how to get a job, what kind of jobs that are only for locals, what other jobs that are open for foreigners, lifestyle, living in Turkey. We have a lot of topics and we hope you like them. So we're looking at positive and great days coming ahead of us for this year. I would like to say thank you again and see you next week.